Here we're looking at the lifestyle of the men who made their living off the sea. These were a brave and now rare breed of people who, through their intimate knowledge of the ocean, made a living not just for their families, but also sometimes for entire communities. So they were, in most cases, seasonal fishermen, or what we call farmer fishermen. And they lived off the ocean, and when seasonally fish weren't available, they would then farm the land. Life on the ocean was often dangerous, and it was by their intuition and skill and the following of the old traditions that they made this life work for them. So we're going to focus on one particular type of fishing, lobster fishing. If you look here, you'll see we have a lobster pot. Lobster fishing became widespread in Ireland in the middle of the 19th century. Lobster was becoming very popular in restaurants and markets all over England and the continent. And so fishermen all along the west coast of Ireland began fishing for lobster. Lobster and crab pots come in all different shapes and sizes, but they have one very common thing: a funnel-shaped neck in which the lobster can climb into, but then can't get back out again. These lobster pots would be filled with bait, usually the less appetizing parts of the fish that we don't like to eat ourselves. The pots were then lowered to the bottom of the sea with a weight like a rock and left there overnight. The lobster fishermen would come back first thing in the morning and pull in the pots, hopefully with a couple of lobsters inside. The most common material used in the making of lobster pots was willow or sally rods. But in different parts of the country they used other materials, like the flexible hazel rods, or even in some cases, heather from the bog. So not all fishing was done at sea. There is, of course, inland fishing on rivers and lakes. Most people during the day would have to fish for eel because the nicer fish, for example salmon and trout, they belonged to the landlords, and to be caught fishing them was illegal. Eel fishing was done usually with small traps, or quite often in some parts of the country with what was called an eel spear. Those with a taste for trout or salmon would have to fish for it illegally, or poaching. This would be done at night with a low glowing torch like a bog oak torch, and they would sneak down to the river and using a gaff or a spear they would catch themselves a salmon. Or if they were patient and skillful enough, they could do what was called trout tickling, where they would lower their arm into the water, wait for a trout to swim close, tickle their belly, and then flip them up onto the bank and take them away for tea.